now, I mean, that's what I identify as. Okay, so my actions are supposed to reflect what my belief system is. I know that the pyramids were built, and we also know one basic thing. They keep discovering more and more pyramids. They also, from time to time, discover new chambers within the giant pyramid, which tells us we come from a people that did what? They constantly built. They never stopped building. That's who the hell we are. We're builders. We're not purchasers. You see what I'm saying? We're not buyers. We're builders, which means the civilization that we want to live in and the things that we want to do, we're going to have to build it. There's no way we're going to ever be able to buy it.
If I asked you to get a piece of paper and something to write with, and to make a numerical list of all the things that you would be willing to die for, how long is your list?
Black Panther 48.
Willing to die for.
Black Panther 48.
Willing to die for. How long is your list?
What is the tribal self?
Black Panther 48.
The tribal self is what goes above the immediate acquaintances of the social.
Willing to die for.
The family, the people you know, live next door.
You would be willing to die for.
Tribal self.
Black Panther 48.
I'm talking about those living, those yet unborn, and those who are the ancestors.
How long is your list?
So the connection with the ancestors is tied into the tribal self.
Black Panther 48.
What does that mean? That means that the tribal self constantly reminds us
Willing to die for.
that we don't have the right
How long is your
to
list?
claim independence.
Black Panther 48.
Peace and power. Once again, this is your Panther 48. This is your brother Sight, calling out of Dallas, Texas. I got with me on the line, brother Robert Wall Williams, calling out of San Diego, California. Brother Robert Wall is the chairman of the San Diego chapter of the Black Panther Party and one of the day one members of the original new Black Panther Party out of Dallas, Texas. And he's the chief of staff, national chief of staff for the People's Black Panther Party, headquartered out of Atlanta. Peace, brother Wall.
Hey, y'all, power people, everyone.
I got with me brother E. He corrected me last time. How you say it, brother E? I always say emeritus. You say emeritus. That's it. I got brother E, our Minister of Information Emeritus, also one of the original members of the new Black Panther Party, headquartered out of Dallas, Texas. I got him calling out of Florida. Peace and power, brother E. Okay, I can't hear brother E, but he's there. And we got a special guest today, one of our elders, one of our brothers. I know you don't want me to big him up too much, so I'm not going to do it. But he was the National Minister of Defense for the new Black Panther Party. He was our chief of staff for the Dallas chapter of the Black Panther Party. And him, along with Aaron Michaels, founded and began the new Black Panther Party in Dallas, Texas. Starting as the Brothers in Black, we got with us brother David Foreman, calling out of Ecuador. Peace and power, brother David.
Power to the shooters.
Do indeed. I'm gonna pass the mic to Brother War, and Brother War is gonna pretty much lead the conversation today. Brother War, the mic is on you.
All right, Davis. So basically what we're trying to do is get a perspective in terms of the things that here in the United States we may take for granted in regards to just being abroad or dealing with politics. So first thing I want to ask is, what are some of the challenges you face when moving abroad, and what are some of the things a Black person in the U.S. would not expect to experience in Ecuador?
Okay, first thing is that you're going to experience is like the poverty level. They use the U.S. dollar, but the economy here is just like it would be in Peru or Colombia or other places. In other words, things are cheap. First thing I noticed when I got here is I saw a mother and 3 children. They bought basically, I don't even know if it was a 16-ounce water. I think it was like a 12-ounce water. The mother took a hit. She passed it to the oldest child. They took a hit. passed it to the next child, they took a hit, and then the baby had the bottle. Okay? I mean, and the water at the time was like 35 cents. So you got 4 people sharing 1 bottle of water. They shared everything, a 35-cent bottle of water. You see what I'm saying? They shared everything. So that's mind-boggling to me because I've never been in a situation where we shared everything. I've shared some things. You have some personal things. You don't have personal things here. Everything that you have belongs to the family, or so they believe. And the family doesn't include just the household. It's the grandmothers, grandfathers, cousins, uncles, aunties, and then neighbors. So whatever the hell you have is to be shared among everyone, which is probably something we should adopt, but probably will never get to.
So in regards to the challenges faced when moving there, what are some of the things you had to adjust to as well?
The motherfuckers is slow. They don't do nothing in a hurry. Okay, everything is mañana. That's the way they say tomorrow. So basically, it's like you can be here, and as long as you don't need to take care of business, everything is fantastic. But if you need to do business, you got to be prepared to wait. They want to be bribed to do their job, or you just gonna have to wait till they feel like doing it. And it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next month. So things move probably at maybe 1/10 of the speed of the U.S. So if you're impatient, you're gonna learn some patience. So that's number 1 challenge. The number 2 challenge is basically, like I was explaining before, it's like they want to know everything about you, and they want all the information in the world that you can give them, but you will not get information out of them without paying them. And even if they don't have the information, they want you to pay them so that they can turn you on to somebody who can turn you on to somebody. And each of these damn people want to get paid. And the information might not do you no good when you get it. But you got 4 or 5 people that didn't, had their hand out and wanted a few dollars or wanted some money for, they basically don't do nothing for free. Basically, that's what it boiled down to.
So where do you think that mind state comes from? Because actually, when you say that, I done seen that in movies. When the CIA or something is in a whole different country, and they dishing out money to get information. What do you think? Is it the extreme poverty, or is it?
No, y'all like to talk about culture. That's their damn culture.
Yeah.
Okay, they want to create a job out of everything. Okay, because there's very few jobs. It's like there are people that go to the university and graduate, and the government gives them a job, so their family kind of moves up a little bit. But the government has a habit of hiring people for 3 or 4 months, 6 months. Then they take the job and give it to another family. So you go up the ladder and back down the ladder in a year. They got free education. So if you can't take the class you want to take. It's like if you wanted to be a carpenter and your score wasn't high enough, if your score was for a plumber, you're gonna be a damn plumber. That's what they'll pay for. If you got the money to pay to be a carpenter, then you can be a carpenter. But if the government is paying for it, they get to decide what you're going to take in school. So you got a bunch of people with degrees here, worse than the U.S. People with degrees working other jobs there. Here, haven't had a job, won't have a job, and they got degrees. They're literally always trying to find some other country to go to live here. The people with degrees, but most of them are scared to go. So they basically, it's like they're better educated, but there's no, there's no platform, or there's no jobs, there's no infrastructure to take all these people in and put them to work, so to speak. So it's like you're educating people for the sake of educating them, or giving them some information for the sake of giving it to them.
Explain what you mean when you said that they're afraid to leave. They got degrees but afraid to leave.
Okay, well, okay, just say it was you, okay? You're an adventuresome person. You would probably go to another country to work. They're so family oriented that it's like they can't ever imagine being without their family. They would miss their family too much. So very few of them will ever leave. The ones that do leave, it's like a pipeline, where, they bring family members and bring family members and bring family members. But in reality, most of them will never be the first one to leave. So I don't know how they ever got. There's Ecuadorians all over the U.S. I don't know how they got there. Because the people I'm running across would not leave. They talk about leaving. Oh, I want to go to Canada. I want to go to the U.S. It's like, why don't you work that little bullshit ass job over there and get the money to get a visa so that you can go? But they won't. Because in reality, they really don't want to leave their families.
All right. Another question. What aspect of entitlement do you think plagues blacks in the U.S. as opposed to what you see over there in Ecuador, or we may experience in other parts of the world?
Okay, they are a little further along than we are because their family structure is stronger. Okay? In other words, it's like if you had a job here and you were the only one in that family working, you would be supporting the mother, other brothers and sisters, and their children. You understand what I'm saying? Which is why you can never tell if they actually make money, because it's like they might make a decent salary, but they're like supporting 15, 20 damn people. You see what I'm saying? Outside of their immediate family. You know that ain't happening in the U.S. Ain't nobody fooling around taking care of nobody else's damn kids. It's like you made them, you got to take care of them. So that part of it is actually decent, or you could almost say it's wonderful. But the reality of it is that there's no way we're ever going back to that.
Expound on that. Now, when you talk about that, I think this is where Brother E would chime in. That's embedded within the culture. Now, is that something that was brought? Are we talking about a black community, or just Ecuadorians in particular? What is the black community like in Ecuador?
Black community is docile. They docile as hell. The baddest motherfuckers here is the indigenous people. These motherfuckers go to war with the government. Since I've been here, they done run 2 presidents out of office. I bullshit you not. The first time I saw it, they had this pipe. It was like maybe, I don't know, 6-7 feet long and about 3 inches around. And they was protesting against the government. The motherfuckers fired some kind of missile out of that damn pipe. I mean, they go to war with a motherfucker. I ain't bullshit. There's like, I live in the coastal region, and there was like indigenous people here. They started a protest on Thursday in Quito, which is up in the mountains. By Friday, you couldn't find an indigenous person in the coastal region. They all left. As soon as that protest started, they all left. I don't know whether they went to the protest or went back to the little villages and shit they came from, but they got a real strong organization where they got a lot of unity, where they went back and did whatever. They might have had to work on the farm or whatever the fuck else. I don't know what they did, but they left the city, and it didn't make no damn difference what kind of job they had. It didn't make no damn difference. It was like they vacated because they show unity with each other, which is something the black people didn't do. But what you have to understand is they're not dealing with culture, the indigenous people. They're dealing with a way of life. The government subsidizes like the what amounts to propane or gasoline, okay? And the government wanted to raise the price 20 cents, okay? 20 cents. I think the propane was like maybe $3 or $4. They wanted to raise the price 20 cents. Them motherfuckers protested and went ape shit crazy over 20 cents. So they're not allowing anybody to change their way of life here. The indigenous people. The black people here, just like the black people there. They're just grin and bear it. Whatever the hell go down. They really ain't got no fight in them. They actually worse than the black people there, or Africans there.
So explain to me, when you say black people are docile, why are black people experiencing that? Is it because of the indigenous are so dominant in terms of the way they operate? What makes us docile over there?
No, I mean, it's like the indigenous people are fighting for a way of life, okay? This is how they've been living for, just say, centuries, okay? Other than, having cars and other things. This is their way of life. So they're fighting for a way of life. African people will fight for a way of life, but we won't fight for culture. That's the difference. We have to make the struggle about the way we're living and the things that we want to build and how we want our children to be raised and so on and so forth. And that's not what we're dealing with in the States, and that's not what the African people here are dealing with, because they haven't had that experience before.
So you just said something real deep. You said black people will not fight for culture. E, what's your thought on that?
So I'm gonna tell you like this cat used to tell me back in the day, this old motherfucker used to do like that a lot. He used to tell me, y'all got a life and bullshit fucked up.
I got you.
It sounds to me, I've never been to Ecuador. It's on my list, maybe I'll go there one day. But when you talk about the indigenous people versus the children of the slaves or the Africans who were enslaved and brought to Ecuador, it seems to me that the dynamic is really very much the same as what we deal with here in the States. If we look at, say, the, what do you call them, Puerto Ricans or Mexicans or some flavor of Hispania, if we think about their lineage and where they came from, they're actually the white oppressor mixed with the indigenous people of this land. And the closer you get to those folks, and War can attest to this, those cats that are out on the West Coast, with Chicanos and all of them. Matter of fact, they had Chicano uprisings back in like the 50s or 60s or some shit with the zoot suits and all of that. They were kicking back. David probably remembers that shit. But those brown folks who were more in touch with that indigenous Azteca, Taino, whatever it is, were more apt to push back, were more apt and still are more apt to rebel and resist the ways of the oppressor. So it seems to me the dynamic is quite the same. You have Africans who were systematically robbed of their culture and their way of life, because culture and way of life are the same thing, robbed of that way and reason and motivation to push back, in contrast to those into which the oppressor came and brought all his shit into, who are fighting for what is still theirs. So it's like a renter versus a homeowner. The renter is not going to fight as hard, those Africans who were brought into the scenario, as somebody who's a homeowner, the indigenous people of the land that are there, who sees the whole entire spectrum of the reality as their shit, and you're in my shit, get out of my shit. So they're going to be much more apt to fight and resist and to push back. So the dynamic sounds very similar to me. Those Africans there don't have their indigenous culture. Those with an indigenous culture are fighting back, whereas the Africans who don't have their own way of life that they naturally would fight for, like anybody else. So, like I said, it sounds very similar to what it is we deal with here in the States.
But they do have one thing. If you get out of the cities and out of the towns, and you take river rides, to remote villages, they still live the same identical way that the villages were in Africa. Okay? They don't mess with no outsiders. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's a whole nother life. Now those Africans will fight. Okay? Because they have something in place that they kept in place.
Right.
The city I'm in, Esmeraldas, it was like they had a slavery boat on a ship, and it shipwrecked, and these are the people that established this region that I'm in. So if you get far enough away from the towns and cities and you get way back off into the villages, you're gonna run up on some real Africans.
Right. And that sounds right up around here, that sounds, I guess the closest thing we might have to that are the Geechee. Not necessarily in the fighting and pushing back, but holding on to what it is we brought with us. And again, that only goes to make sense. If you own something, if that's your shit, you're gonna fight for it. You're not gonna fight for something that somebody handed to you to hold this for a minute. But if it's yours and you identify it with yours, and from what I've studied, what I've seen, what I've talked to people, it's the same throughout. The further you get away from the more integrated or whatever you want to call it, city and whatnot, and get into the more rural, more less populated, where people are able to live a more indigenous lifestyle, those people who are living that indigenous lifestyle are more protective of it. And that's the same as it is in the US. It's just we don't have as much of it because it's more industrialized, because the process that we went through here was an extension of the process there. Because you go to any of the Breaker Islands, the Taino in Cuba and Puerto Rico, Haiti. I mean, come the fuck on. It's a similar idea throughout, and that just goes to show what I've been saying for the past 20 fucking years. It's just more evidence to say that culture is the missing piece, that we are not fighting and pushing back in this country because we have no cultural identity. We have no way of life. We have nothing that we own. We are renters in this motherfucker. And like we said, nobody is going to fight and all of that and resist and try to maintain a rental property the way they will the house that their grandmama left to them. That's just the way it is. That's human nature. So again, I mean, I appreciate that, because like I said, that just goes toward reaffirming all the arguments we done had over the past 20, 25 years. I was right. Now.
You own it, but you also got to realize too that the further you get away from the cities and the towns, okay, the less support the people have from the monetary system.
Right.
Okay? So if you get away from the monetary system, then you start to change the dynamics. So if I live in a remote area, money won't help those people there. Okay? If I need some rice and you got some rice and I got some plantain, we got to do business.
There it is. There it is.
That's the difference. So basically what I'm learning by being here is the monetary system screwed the people that were colonized, but it also screwed the people in Africa who adopted the monetary system.
And say, hey, Syke, does this make David my disciple? No, but if you think about it though,
Green path, I don't think David would like being called a disciple.
Hey,
probably.
I used to be, but
I forgot.
think I can be his disciple. Because see, we differ in one respect. You think the missing link is culture. I think the missing link is our ability to rid ourselves of the monetary system. Because the only thing that's changed here and in Africa and the US is we've adopted that system and we're afraid to move away from it. Now it could be culture running hand in hand with it. You know, they could be, you know, two parallel lines, but I also believe that it has to do with the monetary system as much, if not more.
Now, I would agree with you 100%. However, we have monetary systems are a result of culture. Culture is produced because money is a way of addressing economics. Economics, not finances, economics. Economics, finances is money. Economics is addressing, taking what you have and making it fit what it is you need. Earlier, you talked about how everything you got belongs to everybody in your family. So if, and you just noted a minute ago, if I got some rice and you got some plantain, we need to work it out. What do we need money for? If war's got a bunch of stuff, you got a bunch, if each of us has something different and we're bringing it to the table, we don't need money. So the way that economics is addressed is different in that cultural sphere than it is in one that's based on money, because money is an attempt by governments usually, or somebody, banks, to control the economics of a people. But if the people, us four, are interacting and exchanging, our families are big enough, and we're living in a locale that's close to one another, to where we can go and trade with one another, and we don't have to go to the city and use money to buy things. Our economics are being addressed because the culture, because we trade things, because I believe everything I have belongs to all my children. So they're going to turn around and they're going to trade with all of your children, going to trade with all the war's children, the site's children, and all of that. Now we've got an economic system that's not based on an external called money. So the culture begets the financial and the economics of a people. It addresses what it is, how you take what it is you have and fit it on what it is you need. And you pretty much proved that out with your experiences that you've talked about so far. So I'm complete agreement with everything you said. It's all one and the same. Whether we call it economics, because again, economics addressing the shit is a culture. How you take care of, how do you eat? How do you get food? What is the culture around that? Do you go and pay for it? Or do you just trade with war or sight in order to trade those plantain and that rice in order to eat? So again, because that culture, because I know in order for me to eat, y'all gotta live. So I'm gonna fight for y'all too. I'm gonna still fight harder for me and mine like anybody else is, but I'm still gonna lend myself to whatever somebody comes and attacks one of y'all. I'm gonna come and be a part of that struggle, if for no other reason, fuck love and friendship and all of that to the side. The fact that y'all got 3 of the staples that I need in order to eat. So I'm gonna make sure that y'all are good so that I can be good. And that's the cultural difference. That's the economic difference, whatever we want to call it, economics, monetary, whatever. Addressing what we need is the high and lows of it. That's the long and the short. But yeah, like I said, I mean, that's fantastic. I love that you're saying these things because it's feeding into all of that.
Well, I got a question. I don't think anybody asked something that's been on my mind since I heard that you left the country, Brother David. What made you leave America? Why did you leave America, and why did you choose Ecuador as the place that you wanted to go
What took you so long?
The main reason I ended up in Ecuador is very simple. I contacted all of the countries in Africa that I wanted to go to. Okay, I went on their websites and I tried to get their exact visa process. Out of 15 countries, the only one that would respond to me was Tanzania, okay? The rest of them never responded. I never got a reply from them whatsoever. But Tanzania would not give me, they said you can come and you can be here, but they wouldn't give me, see, my purpose was to leave and never come back. You notice I ain't been back. I left the end of February 2014. I ain't been back, and shit can't get hard enough for me to come back. But the reason I wanted to leave is because I kept feeling that what I was doing had purpose, but there was a greater purpose. In other words, what I was doing, I was like basically treading water. I felt like I was treading water there. It's like there was nothing else I could do for members of the party or for my people through the party. The only way I was going to be able to change that was to go someplace different and start new. My perspective now is very simple. I bought some land. 2 weeks after I bought it, I sat up in the middle of the damn bed one night and realized it's like the land I bought wasn't big enough for what I need to be doing. We came from kingdoms, okay? That's what built the pyramids. It wasn't the pharaohs. It wasn't the ruling family. It was the concept of the kingdom building where people donated because you couldn't go to the bank and borrow money to build those damn pyramids. So basically what he is saying, it's like the culture was for us to unify and do things or to build. That was their purpose in life. And I realized I couldn't build in the US. It was just not happening. I realize you doing some of it now. It's like, they say you got your rabbits and, and you growing food and so on and so forth. But the reality of it is, even your family, your immediate family, you do not have enough land to sustain your family right now. If they all decided to come be with you, there's not enough land there to sustain them. And even if it is, it's not enough land for them to sustain themselves if they have a family. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, it's like it takes X amount of land for each person to be productive. And you see what I'm saying? And those principles are not going to apply in the US because it's like you can't never get enough damn land at one time because you have to do everything from a monetary standpoint. It's like you got to buy this stuff. I wanted to go someplace where I couldn't just come and buy some land and build a house and try to live happily ever after. That wasn't my concept. My concept was to come and find out what the hell was going on and try to build something that's going to be effective 200, 300, 500 years from now, because unlike the European, they build stuff for a couple of hundred years. We're of African descent, so that means we built kingdoms that last thousands of years, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And I knew I couldn't do it there.
And I can completely relate. Fortunately, well, I don't know. I whatever's going on is going on in the family, and all I'm looking to support right about now is just me. But point is absolutely taken. But yeah, that's I admire that. I respect that.
So, David, tell me something in regards to that though, because you're talking about how you took it. Now, is that how blacks from the United States have moved over there operate? What are the different dynamics in terms of the diversity of Africans in Ecuador? Do they all have their own little pockets, or do everybody commingle?
No, I mean, it's like this province I live in, the province is similar to a state, okay? This province is probably 85, 90% African, okay? But they technically don't run it. You understand what I'm saying? They technically don't run this. It's like they're not productive in their, they're not unified in how they operate and do things. You can find individual towns, individual cities where people prosper. But for the overall province, no, it ain't happening. So the reality of it is, it's like people here they base their decisions on two things: family and their politics. They just had an election here about 3 weeks ago. These motherfuckers got 30 plus political parties in a little ass goddamn country. This country probably don't have 10 million fucking people, but they got 30 political parties, and they don't give a damn about each other. When the political time come up, these motherfuckers is bitter enemies. One guy that was running for president, he got assassinated. And I'm talking to a friend of mine that's a lawyer that's from here, and he say good for the motherfucker because he was a thief. but there ain't no proof that the man was a thief. He just don't like people from other parties when it comes to their politics. They get along fine until then, till it's time for an election. Then they at each other's throats. But think about that. You got 10 million people with 30 political parties. In any election, you got to get 50% of the damn vote. So they always have a runoff. The top two vote getters always have a runoff. They end up being president. You got to go form coalitions. You know, you got to form coalitions with some of these other 28 parties to fool around and get enough votes so that you can be president. But I also tell you, they will run a motherfucker off. I'm telling you, I've been here 9 years and they done ran 2 motherfuckers away from here.
Well, and that's having a whole bunch of political parties like that, but is actually more the status quo outside of Western European shit, especially the U.S. You know, other white countries all over the place, they got multiple parties. Israel, Germany, they got several different political parties. So it's actually the two-party system that's weird. You know, this country is weird about that shit. Everybody else has multiple parties. But I wanted to ask, you said in the area that you're in that it's more, you said it's 80 whatever percent
85 to 90% African. Yes.
Now, the area you in is more city, or is it more the rural countrified?
The largest city in this province is Esmeraldas, okay? And it's probably got about 300,000 people. Every other town or city is smaller than that here. Esmeraldas is the name of the city. It's the name of the province. So it's like the seat. It would be I guess like the State House. It would be like Austin in Texas. Okay, so it's organized, but it's disorganized to the point where these people. There's a guy here. He's like party number 6. This motherfucker been running for president for 30 years. 21 before I got here, and the son of a bitch ain't gonna never get enough goddamn votes to fuck around. He can't get enough votes to hold office in Esmeraldas, but he's running for president all the time. That's what I'm saying. It's like they got all these parties, but technically it's nothing more than a group of people, their family member and friends, that have formed a unit, and they trying to get some power, except they can't get no damn power because they outnumbered.
So in the more rural, the more away from the city areas, is the same true as far as the holders of power in those areas as it is in the city? I mean, is there more control in those areas versus being in the city where everybody's just cutting their throats and da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it's like the problem here is, like I say, the monetary system is corrupt in it unto itself. So people get in power, and instead of doing some of the stuff that they could do to make life better for the people, they too busy taking care of their family and friends.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't make any damn difference which party gets in office. That's the same scenario. You can tell who won the election by whose family is now working. So if you had a job and you were with the other president or the other, what do you call it? They actually call the person that's president of Esmeraldas, the province, they call them a president too. So you would lose your job because your people didn't get elected, and they would replace, whether you were competent or not, they would replace you with someone else, whether they're competent or not. Okay, it's nepotism till its fullest. And the political system is so corrupt that it's like there are people that will go and work on a campaign because they can be paid. They don't give a damn about your policies, okay? But if you getting up $5, $10 a day or whatever the hell it is, the people gonna work on your campaign. That's the difference between here and the US. It's like here, when I first came here, you know what they told me? They say, be careful, because these motherfuckers will kill you for $20. Okay, now think about that. I know it's true because when I wanted to get my visa was like $340 something. I went into the government office and I had a couple of $100 bills and 250s. The government don't even take them damn bills. You can't use shit but 20s here. Okay, and you can't use 20s in these little small ass stores. But the government got a big ass sign, no 50s, no 100s. So that lets you know what the economy is like. In other words, $20 is a lot of money here. It was then and it is now. Because you got people that work 10, 12 hours and they could be paid any place from $4 to $8 for working 12 hours. And they best be happy.
And I say that's a definite eye opener there. My wife in the Philippines, she was referring. They refer to the people that are in political position in the locale as like barangay captains, and I heard some of the same thing in regards to that. Kind of goes back to what you were saying when you first started, how everything is made out of a job. And anything that you can think of is going to be made out of a job, just like how you were saying with the information. And when I was asking them about the politics over there, they was explaining to me the same thing about how people find ways to, from a political perspective, if it's about making money. I was like, well, how do you become a barangay captain when you in a position of a political position like that, or you're working toward? It's all about issuing out money. It ain't nothing about the politics. Nobody cares about your policies. It's all about what can you do, what can you put in my hand, and then I help you. Simple as that. And that's how everything goes. So it's like, when I look at it from that standpoint, basically what you're saying is that for people to even get in positions of power, they already have to have some type of monetary concept in place to where they can grease palms, and they got a supply of that. But now with that, I also mean basically that we're talking about, I don't know if it's in Ecuador or what is the main aspect of how somebody would be in power from a financial position to even run for government. So are the politicians becoming politicians so that they can have access to the money, or is it that people with money become politicians so that they can continue to be more corrupt? What is the source of income for somebody that is a politician to be able to continue to grease palms like that?
Now, you got to realize they got rich people here. Okay? They got rich people in Ecuador. Okay? And the way they stay rich, well, I'll give you an example. There was a building. This building was starting to deteriorate when I first came here in 2013. And the guy wanted $150,000 for it, okay? The building is still sitting there deteriorating, and he still want $150,000 for it, okay? He ain't bringing the price down, and ain't nobody paying his damn price, okay? So that lets you know that they would rather let it sit there, because it's like that belongs to the family, okay? And they don't care. So it's like they already have money. Since the cost of living is so damn low, okay, they're not affected. They could let it sit there for 20 damn years or 50 years, or his great-grandchild could sell it, okay? But they ain't selling it till they get $150,000, even though the motherfucker ain't worth but $80,000 or maybe $70,000. The price was too high to begin with, but that's what they want. There's no, what do you call it? There's no real estate listing service here, okay? Which is why it took me so damn long to find some damn land, okay? Because it's like nobody's gonna give me any information unless I can pay 6 or 7 different people for them to show me something that I've already seen, okay? Because they will not show you anything. It's like you, War, okay? you got a son that's in real estate. You're gonna try to, if people want some real estate, you're gonna try to funnel them through your son. Okay? That's just the way business is done. Well, here's the same thing. They will not, you can't get a recommendation for a dentist, you can't get nothing, okay? Without them going through their family some kind of way or a friend, and then after you pay, then they gonna go to them people and get a kickback. This is the damn culture here, okay? This is the culture. He talking about culture. This is their fucking culture, okay? I must get paid. And if 6 people, if they had to go to 5 other people to find this information out, then all 6 of them want something, which means the price end up being 3 times what it should have been, okay? And in reality, nothing gets bought or sold because everybody wants something before, before the deal takes place. And the information most of the time is worthless. I took an ungodly amount of trips to places that didn't have no damn water, no water access, no electrical access, no nothing. It's like, you mean to tell me you want me to pay you the same money for this property, this 2 miles back in the woods, that you want the same price for the land that's right there on the highway where the bus runs, and they want the same identical price for the land 2 miles away, okay, with no access to it. There's no way to get back there. You can't even walk back there, let alone get a truck or a car back there with supplies. It's like, that's what I'm saying. The mentality is just crazy in hell because they don't have a real pricing system. It's like, it's whatever that person wants for their product. So it's different. It's different. That's another thing you have to get used to. I still don't shop at the little local, they call them tiendas. I don't shop at them. I go to the big ass damn store so I can put my hands on my shit, and I don't need to know the name of it. I walk in the damn store and push my damn cart around and throw my shit in the damn cart and go up there and pay for it and leave. Because if you go to these little tiendas, they got these they're in like little cages. Because these motherfuckers will rob you and they will steal. So it's like you ask for an onion and the motherfucker give you the onion they want you to have. And I'm like, no.
I seen that.
Hey, we should probably do a show where we have sisters and brothers that either live in another country or have spent a great amount of time in others, because, or even like with you, War, going to the Philippines and seeing that there are patterns and likenesses that are, to me, very, very obvious. And one of them is that, when we talk about corruption and people getting paid, we live in 3 of us live in, or all of us have at one point, lived in the capital of Palms getting greased. If there's any doubt, just ask Hunter Biden. But when you deal with countries that are poorer, they're so-called third world, these brown countries and whatnot, it tends to be more obvious. It tends to be more like a lot of things up in your face, front and front. It's just like in the streets. The game, the drug game is the same as the music game. I've heard that so many times from so many rappers, and it's the same game. So the only difference for me is the window dressing. In Ecuador and the Philippines, there is less pretty. There is less hiding of it. It's more upfront in your face. You were talking about going to the store and somebody giving you this or giving you that from behind the counter or from it's locked up and whatnot. At one point in time, until they came up with the ability to make corrugated boxes and cardboard boxes and that sort of thing in this country, that's how it was here. You go to the general store and get a pound, you want some rice, they're gonna open up a bag, pour it in there and weigh it up and then hand it to you. It wasn't until you got the packaging, which is a part of industrialization, which is a part of the mechanisms of capitalism and whatnot, where they're functioning much more effectively here. Well, much prettier here than in so-called, third world nations and whatnot. But I see that with the articles that I read, with the news that I keep up with, the people that I speak with, that same scenario, that same culture playing out country after country that's not a part directly of the industrialization or not high up in the industrialization hierarchy. Those that are lower down, it's much more, you talking about political parties bumping each other off and whatnot, just because, that's a different party, or, people going at it and whatnot. First thing I thought of was Bloods and the Crips. I mean, they bang like that. We know that. You know that. So yes. To me, it's the same thing. It's just dressed up differently, or it's presented in a much more raw fashion than it is here in the States, which is one of the things that's always appealed to me. In Ecuador, the Philippines, they let you know what time it is. Whereas in the US, it's an entire industry to keep you tricked into not realizing that it's the same shit. It's a whole economy built around, PR and was it manufacturing consent and all of those types of things in the Western world. So I'm hearing a lot of that, and I think that it would be beneficial, especially for Black folk here who are low down on the totem pole and probably high up too. But to see that this is a pattern globally, that this is the same shit going on everywhere. So when we think, well, what's going on in Ecuador? What the hell does that have to do with what's going on in Bonton and Dallas or wherever it is? And we are able to start seeing those patterns, and that it's the same fucking game being run on everybody. And then to be able to sit back and see, like you were saying earlier, how some of the populations in other areas are addressing, or how, what the difference in, if you're in the slave part of the country and you're using a monetary system that's based on, it's based on money, which is just a form of control, versus those that are in the more rural that are based on we. It's not based on somebody else controlling it. We're controlling it because we're depending on we. And, connecting some of those dots and tying some of those strings together. I think that would be a very interesting idea for us to delve into. And I think even War is the time he spent in the Philippines would be good for, piecing in on that type, because I would dare to say that the cats that are out in the bush, for lack of a better word, in the Philippines are much like those cats, resistive, fuck you, fuck the government, fuck your money type of attitude that you see down in Ecuador, that I've heard tales of in parts of the continent and in the Caribbean and, all of these different places.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. See, here, they keep the people so damn poor, okay, that they never have time to think, okay? It came to light during the epidemic, okay? You could only come outside, well, not, the pandemic, okay? You could only come outside on, like, odd days. If your ID said ended in an even number, you could come outside on these days. If it ended in an odd number, you could come outside on those days. But the people here live day to day. They have to go get their money today to eat today.
Yeah.
Okay? If they don't get their money today, they don't eat today. So when you lock them in the house, that's why right now it's like, these motherfuckers is ape shit crazy here. These motherfuckers robbing motherfuckers left and right, but they ain't robbing the same kind of shit. These motherfuckers want a cell phone. I got jacked for my cell phone. I had like $900 in my pocket. And the motherfucker didn't want nothing but my goddamn $100 cell phone. These motherfuckers is backwards. I don't give a fuck what you say. They just straight up backwards because they know they can turn the cell phone into $30. $30 is what? If you look at the $10 a day, $15 a day wage, that's 2 or 3 days food, or 2 or 3 days subsistence for that fucking family. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like they ain't gotta work every damn day. That's the reality of this place. That's why they got so many different political parties. Not because they have that many political ideologies, it's because the people are day to day. They don't have time to think about tomorrow and next week and next year. They can only think about today. Their mentality doesn't go beyond today.
That's what poverty does to a people. That's what the lack of resources does to people. It forces them to live day to day. It forces them into a situation. I mean, we can again let's go into those patterns. We can see that here in America. We can see it not to that extreme because we tend to be on the boat that's moving the fastest. So even in the poorest situation, we're doing better than poor people in other countries. However, in ghettos and in hoods, the people there are robbing and jacking and selling dope and doing all the things that they feel that they need to do in order to acquire finance, in order to get money. Because if you grow up in poverty and you're hungry and you don't have the basis in your house, then you can't even think about going to school. You know, I grew up with dudes that school was the last thing that we was thinking about. You know, they was feeding us the line of go to school, get a good education, get a good job so you can live good in the future. But it wasn't hard for us to sit back and say, if we do that, we ain't gonna make it past right now. I need to live right now. So we stopped going to school. We didn't worry about school. We was worrying about the right now. Because when you're dealing with a situation where the light's not on, the water not on, there's no food in the refrigerator, you thinking about right now. So that's what, like you said, they keep them so poor where they can't think. And we can't even focus on educating ourselves or building our thoughts and building our minds. So yeah, that pattern, I can see that pattern. And like I say, I understand that it's at a more extreme level in places like that, but I can see that pattern probably reigns true around the world.
I got a question, David. How does policing work in regards to poverty like that and governmental corruption?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what the police do. If you got a car, they're gonna stop you and shake you down. Okay? If you just walking on the bus, they ain't got nothing to say for you. You can do any damn thing you want to do. Okay? It's like I have seen women that's off in the head walking around naked. The damn police don't do nothing. I'm talking about from the head to the damn toe. Ain't got on a stitch or nothing. Okay? They don't do nothing because they say that's a social issue. They don't try to solve social issues. They're not taking you to jail on no social issue. You can be drunk and pass out on the goddamn ground. It's like that's a social issue. As long as you ain't robbing and stealing and killing, and if you robbing here, okay, and they think you got more firepower than them, they still ain't gonna do nothing. They gonna back up and leave you the hell alone. Because basically, we think in the US, we think we know how to survive. Okay? These people on some altogether different shit. Survival is more real here than it is there. Because there are different social services there that you can get for this or whatever the hell else. Here, you ain't got nothing coming. When I came here, I saw a dude, I swear to God, boy, it's like you seen people with no lower body, no legs and shit, and they be on one of those, what you call them, the creepers for the mechanics and shit.
Yep.
Dude, this motherfucker was dragging his carcass across the street. That shit fucked me up. I bullshit you not. So you think it's a joke. I'm telling you. I look down at this motherfucker. He ain't in the waist, you could tell that the fucking rubbing on the goddamn street was wearing his waist out. It was eating that away too. But he like crossing the fucking street, and I'm like, God damn. And there's a lot of handicapped people here. Not handicapped, but I'm talking about it's like if you cut your fucking hand, okay? Go to the fucking doctor, okay?
Yep.
The motherfuckers ain't trying to do no sewing and shit. They cutting that motherfucker off.
That's what I saw in the Philippines.
So it's a whole lot of limbs. It's a lot of people missing limbs here. It's like the doctor don't fuck around. The healthcare is free, okay, but you don't want it. You don't want damn healthcare, but it's free. Look, education is free, but most of the people try to send their children to quote unquote a little bit better schools, so they struggling to do that. But they got free ass goddamn schools. The university is free. They got a Catholic university. These motherfuckers is Catholic. I don't know if y'all know that. This is a predominantly Catholic country. But they got a Catholic university that you have to pay for. They got a public university that the government will pay if you do certain scores and you take a certain curriculum, okay? You get a free education. The problem with that is they might graduate 200 fucking people in one fucking field, but they didn't have a job for one of them every fucking year. So you got an educated, uneducated workforce. And I guess they're still waiting on some US company to come here and put a call center like they got in, say, I think they got in DR and places like that. They got call centers where people work in them, and then the same thing they got in India. I guess that's what they're looking for. I don't know what the hell they're trying to do. But I like the place because the motherfucker don't give me no grief, which is the most important thing to me. It's like my day-to-day life, as long as I don't need to take care of business, okay? As long as I don't have to do any professional type business, I'm good here. Because it's like, I ain't got no reason. It's like, hola, como esta? And I keep going. You know, I stay to myself, do what the hell I'm gonna do. So it's go ahead.
I was gonna say that brings up another question, because a lot of times Africans in the United States, when we thinking about relocating to another country, or you know, even in the continent of Africa, and we're young still, I think is we want to get there, we want to be able to thrive there, but we think in business. And then it's like when I was thinking the same thing when I was talking about, I'm talking about moving to the Philippines. It's like I got to figure out a way to establish some type of economics before I get there, and have something already embedded with my family that's over there, and then I move over. Because it's like, how do you be young? You know, you're not drawing any retirement or anything like that. How do you be young and survive in that kind of environment when you need business?
No. See, we keep thinking in terms of survival, okay? We got to go back to thinking about living, okay? Living and survival are two different things. It's like when we think of survival, we always think of a monetary number, okay? Living, you don't necessarily need money. If you got some land and you can grow your goddamn food, then the only time money gonna come up is when you gotta put some shoes on your damn children for them to go to school or whatever the hell else, or maybe you gotta pay some school fee. You understand what I'm saying? If you think about it, we gotta have basic shelter, clothing, and food, okay? And water. Those are our basic needs, okay? If you solve 3 or 4 of those just by moving, you way ahead of the game. You're way ahead of the game. It's like we keep trying to take our Western standard someplace else and live at the same level, except you in a third world countries are very simple. Everything you do, you make a decision, okay? If you go to the store, you buy the shit that the rich people buy, or you buy the shit that the poor people buy. There ain't no damn middle class, and we keep trying to go to these third world countries and be middle class. There ain't no fucking middle class. People get on YouTube and tell you can live your middle class lifestyle. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Because they don't have 3 different, it's like a Toyota. They don't have 3 different models. One for the richer person, one for the middle income person, and one for the poor person. They ain't got that shit. They got people, I had a friend that had a damn car. This motherfucker was like a little bitty Chevy something, okay? I mean, it's basically a little 4-passenger, and the damn thing was 10 or 12 years old, and the motherfuckers wanted $5,000 for it. If that car was in the United States, you couldn't get $200 for that motherfucker on a bet. And it only at the junkyard because they needed the transmission to sell to somebody. That's the only way you would get $200 for it. And they rolling these damn things up and down the damn street. The only things here, electronics, anything electronics, okay, high as hell. Automobiles, any of that shit, you're gonna pay way the hell more than you would in the States. But everything else, your basic needs, food, water, whatever the hell else, rent, that shit is way the hell cheaper. So that's what I'm saying. It's like if you take 3 of your basic needs and you getting them for damn near nothing, okay, you're supposed to be okay. You're supposed to be able to not survive, but you're supposed to be able to live because you got enough intellectual ability about yourself to figure out a way to, if your children need some damn shoes and a pair of shoes cost $6, it's like, I'm sure you'll go out in the damn woods and bust a cap in a goddamn rabbit's ass and sell the rabbit or some shit. I don't know. I'm just saying that, our survival skills are fucked up in the US. And what we think is survival is not really survival. But most of the people here are happy as hell. They ain't got a goddamn thing, but they happy as hell because they know what they can do and they know how they're going to do it. The problem comes in, like I say, when you get a job. I had a friend that when I first got here, she was going to the university and she finally became an English teacher. Her family, everybody in her family, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, all of them knew exactly how much she made, okay? Knew exactly when she got a raise, and all of them wanted some extra goddamn money. So it's like, even if you had what amounts to a middle class salary, okay? You ain't gonna be middle class here because you're gonna have to support all of the damn family members, friends and relatives, and whoever the fuck else show up. Okay, so in essence, the only way to deal in these types of communities is you got to get away from people. I bought some land out in the middle of no goddamn way, but the city, they got a bus system that goes there, and it's like the bus let me off right at, I can step off the bus and step right on my damn land. I'm happy in hell. The problem is, I realize now that it's not large enough to do what I need to do. If only my children came here, okay? If they didn't have any children, I doubt that I got enough land to fool around and sustain any of us. That's the reality. In other words, I'm not in a position to build. And that comes from surviving. People that are surviving are not interested in building because they're too busy surviving. So in essence, we're gonna have to figure out the problem in the US. It's like, I can't quit. I can't quit this job. I can't leave. I can't do this because it's like I need X amount of dollars. You'll never get those dollars. I'm gonna give y'all an example. When I graduated from high school in '67, you know what $20,000 could have did for me?
Shit.
No, talk about it.
Why?
I could have bought a house in an African neighborhood, the neighborhood I grew up in, $8,000 to $12,000. Bought a brand new car, 4-door Chevy, okay, for $2,500. Furnished the damn house. Took an African vacation at the time, so it wasn't no going to Florida and all that other shit. It was like you go someplace where you got a relative or a friend, you stay at their house, you buy food, y'all, do what you do, you leave, you get them some money. I could have came back home with that same money, okay, and had money in the bank left over. Now you got to tell me what your number is when you left high school. You see what I'm saying? Each year, the number keeps going up, which means each year we're further behind than we were before. Then we think about our children or our grandchildren. What the hell is the number gonna be? That's just to be okay. You understand what I'm saying? That's not to actually live, but that's to be okay and be doing better than most people. So in reality, we're fighting a losing battle. If we don't change, or if you say if we don't adopt our true culture and adopt a system other than this monetary system that we're operating under, we dead men walking. Plain and simple.
Go ahead, E.
So thank you for that, David. War. And every time I used to politic with a sister from Kenya, and I think I sent y'all the video. She sent me some video of her family and her peeps back home, you know, riding little dirt bikes on dirt roads and, you know, not invested in these trinkets and whatnot that come from the West. You know, these sisters and brothers don't realize they poor until you introduce the little gadgets and shit from the West. And like David said, this whole idea that these cats are out there and they're happy. You know, and he hit it right on the head. When I've seen a lot of blogs and I watch the ones of folks who have repatriated to the continent, I like the ones in particular that folks get over there and now they're making a vlog or whatever, a video saying, don't move to Africa, here's why. And it's almost always because, yeah, just like David said, we took our Western mentality and we want to live a Western lifestyle over there. When the reality of it is, in the West, we place our values and our happiness and enjoyment and all these things on things that we get from the West. These external products that we buy from the West. That's what slavery is. Somebody else being empowered to affect our mind state. Whereas in these little so-called ass backwards countries and villages and towns, the people, I saw a video, this white dude walking through, I forget where on the continent he was, but he was giving them little candies, like Sour Patch Kids and Twizzlers and shit. And it just reminded me and kind of highlighted so much of exactly what the experience with the European has been. They'll give us something, you know, was it bells and whistles, something shiny, and we're like, ooh, that's cool. And over a period of time, because he gave several pieces to the children. So if that happens on a larger scale, these children grow up associating tasty food or candy and sweets and the enjoyment and pleasure that comes along with it. They associate that with white folks and Western culture and welcome that shit into their world. And so they transfer that happiness over to the shit that these folks are bringing in. And so when folks move over to these places and they're expecting that to be the experience, when you go to these spots, many of them with the less westernized areas, the people are happy because the people are still connected. They're not running after some external to make them happy. They're happy because they haven't had themselves disconnected from those around them. They haven't had them disconnected from the ground beneath their feet. And I think what David is experiencing is exactly that. Is that the people that are there, they're slower. Why? Why the fuck you need to hurry? I want to slow down all the goddamn time. This hurry up, we got to get it done type of shit is this Western mentality because, I guess their time is running down. But that's not the mentality in other countries. We're talking about it over at the plantation that I'm at. How in other countries, they'll have 4-day work weeks, how folks will have an hour for lunch and an hour nap time after that or whatever. And some of these even Western countries, Spain and some of those areas where it's still somewhat of a connection to older ways. But this idea that we're going to transplant, and even in terms of political ideologies and whatnot, taking those ideologies and trying to place them on top of what's going on in these other countries, can't conceive of owning shit. Just that plain and simple shit. The idea that you own the land is crazy to not even just Africa, but non-Western mindsets. This idea that the land belongs to us as opposed to us belonging to the land. So, it takes, if you're not prepared, if you're not open, if you haven't learned something about the lifestyle, not even just the lifestyle, because it's still kind of, it's surface level, but just the mentality and the culture and the way of life of the people that you're going to, then it looks really, really strange and really backwards and poor and all of these things, because they don't have the trinket. They haven't invested in the lifestyle. They haven't invested in the surface level. There's a deeper connection there. And most of the people that are in the US go to these places not prepared for that depth, still looking for that surface level and living and existing on that surface level, surviving, like David said, on that surface level, and never having really lived, which again, David said, is not tied to a monetary policy. That's slavery, that's surviving. Living is being connected. Living is being a part of the reality, being connected to those that are around you. And that's so traditional for us. That's so, whether it's Spanish we're speaking, it's brown folks, dark black folk, it's even yellow folks, all of these folks that are not tied into this Western ideology, this Western mentality, this psych capitalist ass society and mindset, living outside of that and investing in something other than. But yeah, I'm 100% on board with David. I feel like I live in Ecuador.
Your background looks like you live in Ecuador as well. David, I gotta
Y'all see the tin roof?
Yeah.
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 That's what we got in the
little motherfucker I live in, 2-bedroom, bathroom, goddamn small ass goddamn kitchen, and a goddamn little bullshit ass living area. This motherfucker, $100 a goddamn month. Electricity is included because the motherfuckers are stealing electricity, and water is free too. Okay? And I'm like, I couldn't wait to get out of Esmeraldas. I live in a place called Rio Verde now. I found this goddamn place so I could be closer to my land, so I could, do shit on the land. But it's like $100 a goddamn month. And you talking about how can you do shit for your fucking people when you need X amount of money? It's like, shit here is damn near free. I know the Philippines is the same because I watch videos on the Philippines all the time. You get outside of Manila and them other goddamn places, and you can find some $40 and $50 goddamn money ass fucking houses. Okay? It'll be luxurious, but it's like you could go there with $5, $10, $15, $20,000 and you'd have $5, $10, $15,000 in 5 years. You still had that goddamn money because they ain't shit for you to spend it on.
Exactly. The distractions aren't there. The capitalism, the taking your money.
As long as you got a way to farm, like you're saying, Dave, that's the key. As long as you got a way to grow your own food, and that's kind of what I was telling Ian Syke about up there, is how the land that my wife got up there, you plant everything and you have all your own crops and stuff, and then you exchange that stuff with other people. And then that's your economy. That's how you get whatever supplies and stuff you need. And then beyond that, like you said, if you want trinkets or you want extra shit, you want shoes, then that's when the actual money come into play. But as far as just your actual needs, like what we talk about in the Panther Party, having a roof over your head and being able to put food in your belly, you got that sustained.
Yeah, but
David said,
in that village you're talking about, there's a shoemaker. Yeah. And the person spent all their time making shoes, so that means you can fool around and trade them some platinum and some goddamn rice for some shoes, because they still gotta eat too.
Exactly.
Right. As long as you good with the kind of shoes that they make, you're right. And they make sandals all the time. That's what they wear over there, sandals. So yeah, you can get sandals for your food.
Well, you don't need them high tops. You can't play ball here. You ain't gonna be playing ball there. Shit.
What about
they play ball in sandals? They play ball.
They got a way of life, war. Okay, they have a way of life. We have a way of survival. Okay, two different things. They can sustain their family, and they can know that their family 200, 300, 400 years can sustain themselves the same identical way, okay? and we can't accumulate enough money for our grandchildren to live comfortable or to be comfortable, okay? We can never accumulate that amount of money simply because, dude, I'm older than y'all. I ain't never heard of no damn billionaire till recently, okay? It was a few fucking millionaires when I was a kid, okay? In the next 20 years or so, there will be trillionaires. Okay? And we talking about accumulating money to have a way of life. That shit ain't gonna never fucking work. We will never get enough goddamn money because we don't make it, we don't print it, nor do we determine the value of it.
The concept of generational wealth building in terms of words, in terms of being written down, is a Western thing. But the actual lifestyle of generational wealth is built into non-Western European communities. You automatically, like you've been saying the whole time, having land that you know your children 200 and 300 years down the road are going to be able to benefit from. That's exactly what people here talk about, generational wealth, something you can pass along. That's something that those folks you were talking about in those communities are just doing. That's just their life. They build up some land. They're not thinking about generational wealth and that's what they do. Everything belongs. And when you say everything belongs to everybody, that's not just everybody that's walking around you now. That's everybody on down the line, everybody on back up the line. So the idea of generational wealth, we think that that's something that was produced or is an innate part of the capitalist system, when it's not. It's another form of control. And the reality of it is, in those cultures and those lifestyles that you're talking about, that's just the way it fucking is. You don't have to talk about some things. You don't have to talk about when everybody just understands that's the way it is. And so generational wealth and passing land along and all of those types of things, that's just a reality in those situations, because people are not running after the new shoes and the new TVs and all of that type of thing. So yeah, again, war, you learn to make some sandals, take your ass on to the Philippines and you'll be straight. All you gotta do is learn and you'll have it up on the game.
I wear flip-flops every day, except if I'm going, if I'm gonna be on the buses and going to the city. But if I'm walking around the house and walking around the neighborhood, I'm wearing flip-flops. These motherfuckers cost $5.
Yeah, that's what I call sandals, flip-flops. That's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. But
that's what I'm waiting for. As soon as this stuff collapses, that's in my head. That shit's gonna seep in, and that's got to start becoming a reality. I want to wear flip-flops all day. Shit.
Dude, I can shovel with these motherfuckers. I can dig holes with these motherfuckers. I don't any shit. I plant my little plants and shit with these goddamn things on. I got a pair of goddamn boots that I can wear. Sometimes I don't feel like doing. I ain't gonna plant for 2 or 3 plants. Fuck it, I just go dig the damn hole and keep going.
Yeah, that's something I learned in the Philippines. It amazed me how they was able to do everything in flip-flops. That's what I'm saying. They was playing basketball in some bitches. They do everything in it. That's the shoe. That's what shoes are down there.
Yeah, because look, the other stuff is not going. The money that it takes and the time and the resources that they have to use to get that damn pair of shoes, they ain't got no place to wear them damn things. That's the reality of it. Plus, I don't know about the Philippines, but here, these fucking people, dude, they work 6 days a week. They ain't got that bullshit ass 5-day a week, so on and so forth. This shit is a 6-day a week society. If you got a job, you going to that motherfucker 6 times. Period.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah, get it. Get in while you can, because like you said, it's all about day to day.
And the hours are 10 or 12 hours. These
Right.
ain't no goddamn 8-hour jobs. These motherfuckers 10 or 12 hours. There was a guy that got deported, and I was at the park, and he came over there and was talking to me. It's like, man, I had to quit that job. Say the motherfucker was working me 12 hours for $4 a day, and I'm like, man, you should have whooped his ass and robbed him. Fuck it, $4 for 12 hours? Y'all do the math. Y'all tell me what the hell that is. How much is that? 30 cents? Some shit, or 50 cents or 60 cents a goddamn hour? I don't know what the hell that shit is. Told him you could stand on the goddamn corner and beg for that kind of goddamn money, $4 a day. But they do have one thing that's unique about that. The motherfuckers, if you hire somebody to work, you gotta feed them. Okay? Now the food it's gonna be some rice and a little piece of goddamn meat and maybe a little salad, but it's like that shit ain't gonna cost no more than $2. But you gotta give them a meal. So technically he was working for $6 a day because he got a meal. You got a $2 meal and $4 at the end of the day. I don't know what the hell you're gonna do. If you work all week, what is that? $4 times 6 is $24. I don't know where that motherfucker gonna live for that kind of goddamn money. Or reside. But that's the reality of this place. Which means, or you could fool around right now. You could take the money you got in the goddamn bank, go to the Philippines on your woman's land, and be better off than you are now. You ain't gonna drive no damn cars. you ain't gonna never look. I ain't drove a car in 9 fucking years. I didn't even bother to renew my license. I renewed my passport, but I didn't bother to renew my license because it's like the average car here. I mean, a bullshit piece of shit, raggedy ass hoopty, okay, gonna cost $5,000. I ain't gonna never have no car here because I'm not paying $15,000, $20,000 for something that you would buy in the States for $1,500.
And you're not in need of a car, right? I mean, you making it 9 years. Obviously, you're not hurting for want of a car, right?
Dude, no, think about it. The bus costs 30 cents to ride, okay? I'm old, so I get a senior discount. I pay them motherfuckers 15 cents. Ain't no transfers, so if I change buses, I gotta pay another 15 cents. But I pay 15 cents to ride the bus.
Damn.
From the city I'm in, where I live now, it's an hour away. The normal fare is $2. I pay $1. And I can ride 1 hour away and get away from the damn city and all the confusion. My land is another hour away. Okay, so technically, if I want to go to my land from here, it costs me $1.
And the thing that stands in the way is the Western European, I gotta own shit. I gotta have a car. That type of mentality. Because I know, the first time I'll be riding buses. Matter of fact, I think damn near all of y'all, when we met it, or at some point in my life, y'all known me be at a point where I had to depend on the bus to get back and forth and get around. So that shit is nothing for me. But people here will give you the side eye because you ride the bus. You can't go and holler at a chick because you riding the bus unless she riding the bus, and then you still got shit. You gotta tweak that shit just right to make that shit work.
Gonna shame you if you don't have a car if you're on the bus.
What?
She is gonna shame you. The average is gonna shame you if you don't have a vehicle and you're on the bus. They got songs talking about how we gonna get around on your bus pass and things of this nature.
Yes.
But I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask David before we get ready to get off. One, David keeps talking about the monetary system, and we have to change the monetary system that we're using. Do you have an ideal of what type of monetary system would work better for people of African descent, or is it the lack of a monetary system? Is it a particular system that already exists? I want to know your opinion on that.
Okay, let's think about the pyramids, okay? They had to have a way to get supplies and materials there, okay? But they didn't use dollars and cents because they couldn't go to the bank. There wasn't no damn bank to fool around and go borrow money from, which means everybody in the kingdom had to participate. You understand what I'm saying? So if everybody in the kingdom participated, this part of the kingdom produced wood, for the planks to get the blocks up. This part of the kingdom made the actual blocks, okay? Or this part of the kingdom grew the food that they were eating. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, it's like everybody had a purpose and everybody had value. Okay? If everybody has value, you don't need money. Dollars and cents were defined, it was a way to divide people and keep us from uniting. You've never seen millionaires hang out with the homeless. Okay? And there's a reason for that. There's no reason for them to deal with each other, because it's like, I got 2 nickels and you got 1 nickel. I don't associate with you because I'm in the 2 nickel crowd. The reality is, it's like, we're going to have to go back to some form of bartering system in order to even think about being free. I'm not saying it's not going to advance to some point where it's going to turn into some type of monetary system. I have no ideas about that. I know that money itself devalues people.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
Second, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you with.
No. So if you can get rid of the damn dollars and the cents, okay, the people will create a way. In other words, it's like they will create ways to do things. It's like y'all probably not old enough, but I remember my mother and my grandmother, they used to do shit what they call canning. That was when the damn vegetables got harvested. They'd had these damn jars, and they would make preserves and put up this food to be eaten during the winter. Okay? There wasn't no going to the store and buying something. You see what I'm saying? It's like you got tomatoes, you got carrots, you got all this stuff, and it's like you got to preserve this food to be eaten later, while you got this, this abundance of produce. Okay, we're gonna have to get back to stuff like that, because the reality is, I learned it here. I had money. I couldn't go to the damn store because I couldn't come outside during the pandemic. Okay. Also, when I did get to the damn store, they didn't have the shit I wanted because it wasn't on the shelves. You see what I'm saying? So in essence, money did me no fucking good. I had money that I couldn't spend.
That shit. That's why I started canning. I got my canning shit. I've had some go bad because I kept them too fucking long because I was still learning and know better. But that's the shit I'm talking about. Exactly that. And I like that shit you said. If everybody had value, we wouldn't need money. That's the most profound shit I've heard in a long time. That's some real shit. Yes, sir.
He's smiling. He don't never smile. He love that. But you were saying what you were just saying. I can kind of relate, because I've seen. Y'all might be thinking this dude's crazy, but I've seen a system that didn't have money in prison. Because they don't give you cash money, so you trade the things that you need with somebody else that needs the things that you have. You may even, and people that got a lot of time usually don't have anybody in the world still sending them money. They don't have anybody putting money on their books. So they create jobs. Like, for instance, my major source of income was the fact that I knew how to do legal work and I knew how to work the typewriter. So to do legal work for people, I would get paid in food. I would get paid in deodorant or toothpaste or coffee or the basic things that I may need. Then you had people that were literally, not making this up, they would create speakers. They built speakers. There were dudes in there who were so skilled that they would create speakers out of cardboard, magnets, wires, and they would create you whole speaker. All you get is these little fake headphones that they give you. But they would create speakers for people to be able to listen to their music, and them dudes made money. You had the people that tattooed, you had the people that drawed, you had people that essentially had trades, they had skills, and those skills would put food in their locker. Those skills would give them the basic things that they needed in order to survive. And the cold thing about this, now check this out. The prison has a rule against doing that. You cannot trade with each other. They call it trafficking and trade. And they would actually give you a case and run down on you and attempt to take everything that you have if you utilize that system. Because, as he was talking about earlier, the currency, the actual money, gives them control. It gives the government control of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And by trading with each other, we removed their control, and we had control over the economics of quote unquote our world, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in that situation, you're forced to create your own economic system in order to survive. One of the things about people, the first rule of nature is self-preservation. We're not just gonna die because you put us in a bad situation. We're gonna figure out a way to live. We're gonna figure it out. And that's why I said when you was talking, I was kind of relating, because you never look at these things in this way, but you start kind of relating. You start figuring out, what do I have? And then here's another thing that's crazy, because they sell on the commissary, they sell canned meats, and chili and mackerel and things like this. And I'm gonna tell you what's extremely valuable, because you rarely get this. You rarely get this for free. On Christmas, you get an apple and an orange. You finally get to see an apple and an orange. You don't see this all year. And you rarely get any vegetables, any kind of grown stuff, the stuff he loves. You never get that stuff. That stuff is never, you're not getting tomatoes and grown jalapeno peppers and bell peppers. You're not seeing any of that. But if you take some of these classes, like they got a class to get horticulture. And in horticulture, you learn how to grow your own garden, and you learn how to grow your own table inside the greenhouse. Anyway, you can pick to grow whatever you want to grow. Cantaloupe, watermelon, all of these things. These things are prime products in the prison. You sneak these things back into the building, and you can sell these jalapeno peppers, these onions, you can sell these cantaloupe, you can sell these things for top dollar. This stuff is top notch shelf. Or when I say sell, I mean trade for the other things that you can put with these things to make a meal. And, the people love these things. Go ahead, E. Go ahead, E.
I ain't trying to cut you off. I want next.
Oh, go ahead. I'm done. But the next question I'm gonna ask David is going to a different subject matter. So
okay. Well, I think I think David, maybe without even realizing it, is giving a master class on the pitfalls of separating economics from culture, or monetary systems from culture. And especially with what you just said, I think if we look at it, when you say what needs to replace, or what kind of system is necessary or can be used to replace the monetary system that's predominant, capitalism and all of that. I think that if we look at it honestly, we start to see that the natural tendency of humanity is to do exactly what they were doing in your time when you was at boot camp, or what they call the penitentiary, is that we will naturally fall into a cycle, into a system where we trade shit between us, to the extent that in these places like the penitentiary, they outlaw it. Why? Because it takes the power out of their hand. Same reason they try to do it here. There are places where you can't have a garden, particularly in your front yard, in fucking Florida, if you can believe it. There are places, the milk. There's actually been home raids on, and I forget what, I want to say it's up in like Pennsylvania, maybe like the Amish area, something like that, I don't recall, but folks who don't pasteurize their milk. So they have a whole different ecosystem, and it's outlawed, it's illegal, because it takes so much of the power and the ability away from those who are attempting to flex that power and ability. And so the natural tendency of humanity is to fall back and interact with one another and trade. And when that happens, to build on that statement that David said, people gain value. If I need money to go and buy milk at the grocery store, what the fuck I need you for? But if you're the only one within 100 miles that is, milking cows and prepping the milk and whatnot, and I need milk, you have value. So now you're valuable to me. We're valuable to one another. And so I think that's been made real clear in the experiences both that you had in your time away, as well as what David is illustrating in the Philippines. So I think all of these are pointing in the same damn direction over and over again. And that's why I say if we have more classes or more shows with folks who are either living in or have spent, you know, not a few months, no shit like that, but extended periods in non-Western societies, living and quote unquote surviving in those areas, we start to see a pattern which points us in the direction that we need to be developing and building toward.
Yeah, I got one thing to add to that, okay? Y'all need to get Daruba on and get him to explain why he doesn't live in Africa anymore. Because he went there thinking that things were going to be better because the people were doing the things they needed to do, but they were caught up in the monetary system. And he said, if I got to play the monetary game, I might as well stay someplace where my money gets me all of the damn conveniences that I need, okay? Which is probably why he's not in Africa, okay? Because he has X amount of money, and that money doesn't even translate there, okay? Because you can't produce the money there. It's like he still can't, to go in the store and buy some damn cheddar cheese, okay? This shit is $4 in the US, but it's $20 in goddamn Africa, okay? You see what I'm saying? It's like, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know for certain, depending on what part you go to, there are areas, I want to say Nigeria, the inflation rate is like 5, 6, 7, 800%. So yes, the value of the dollar is much, much less, but even those tendencies, those currents, those areas are starting to change as the dollar starts to lose its place as the global reserve currency. You know, I obviously haven't talked to him, don't live over there and whatnot, but I know for certain that again, because these poorer areas tend to highlight the inadequacies of it's not as dressed up as, you know, the US or some other places. You're going to see it more in your face. So if that's the case, I'm sure he experienced the same shit that was in the US. Like you said, if we're going to play the money game, so you go to a place where they're playing the money game, but the money game in that place is, you know, 800% inflation and much poorer, it's going to be a much greater losing game than anything. Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, that's the exact point. That's the exact point. It's like people go to the continent thinking that they're going to have a middle class lifestyle. It can't happen.
Yeah.
People on YouTube every day talking about you can go to Latin America and you can have a middle class lifestyle. Everything I buy in the store, I either buy the shit the rich people buy or I buy the shit the poor people buy. So if you want to be middle class, you pick and choose what you gonna spend money on and what you're not gonna spend money on. Okay? I go to the market, the big local fucking market, and I get big bags of goddamn onions and tomatoes and everything else where I end up throwing shit away. I can go to the same supermarkets, you know, the big supermarkets, you know, like the Kroger's and shit. They got Supermaxes and they got one called a Key and one called Tia here, but it's the same basic thing. You can pay 4 times the amount for an onion, or you can just go to the market and buy some onions. And if you do business with the same people all the time, you buy one, they're gonna probably give you a couple. Okay, that's the reality that we've gotten away from. So, in essence, if we want to live as people, I'm gonna give you credit. We're gonna have to adopt a specific culture, or the best way to put it would be, what do we identify as? Because what you identify as will determine your actions. So, E, I think you're a Cushite.
What?
Are you a Cushite?
Okay, sure, why not?
No, I mean, that's what I identify as, okay? So my actions are supposed to reflect what my belief system is. I know that the pyramids were built, and we also know one basic thing. they keep discovering more and more pyramids. They also, from time to time, discover new chambers within the giant pyramid, which tells us we come from a people that did what? They constantly built. They never stopped building. That's who the hell we are. We're builders. We're not purchasers. You see what I'm saying? We're not buyers. We're builders, which means the civilization that we want to live in and the things that we want to do, we're going to have to build it. There's no way we're going to ever be able to buy it.
When you left the States, and I gotta ask this question because when I came home, I saw something and I had an opinion on it. I want to know what was your opinion on the state of the party that you helped build when you left the state.
Party was in good hands, okay? I trained Brother Osar. Between War and Osar, every fucking thing that I know at that time, okay, they knew. I was no longer necessary, okay? It was time for me to go simply because they knew what I knew, plus they had other ideas and other systems and things that they needed to put into place. I was in the way. Okay, you have to realize at some point, even in as he says, our affluent civilizations, you got the youth, you got the middle-aged people, and then you got the elders. Everybody has a job to do, but at some point in time, the elders got to get out the way and they got to let the youth and the middle-aged people handle their fucking business because the elders ain't gonna be there forever. So the party was in good hands. They had what we call a reconstructive manual, but they were scared to fuck around and share that motherfucker because they were scared Malik and them was gonna fool around and take some of the information and actually do something for our people. You understand what I'm saying? They were afraid to let this information out to our people. The manual was not for us. It was to improve our people's lives. And the only way it was gonna improve their lives is for us to share it with people. We worried about who gonna get the credit, because with the credit comes what? The fucking money.